This video goes through a simple mnemonic device to memorize the modal scales on the piano. So the saying I like to use is, I don't plan to live in the Middle Ages. Now we add on the LOL at the end so that we can account for the final mode, which starts with an L. So if you start with I stands for Ionian, which is the modal scale that goes from C to C. And each modal scale, as we introduce it, will just be only white keys, but starting from a different note on each scale. So these are the scales that are in addition to major and minor. So the Ionian scale is actually what we call the major scale. The second mode is I don't. D stands for Dorian. Dorian goes from D to D. And you can see or hear that Dorian sounds a lot like minor, but with a raised sixth note. So it's like minor, but with a raised sixth. The third mode is P, Phrygian mode. Phrygian mode goes from E to E. So Phrygian also sounds like minor, except the second note is lowered. So Phrygian is also like minor, but with a lowered second note. Okay, the fourth mode starts with an L, and that's Lydian mode. Lydian mode is one of the most used modes. Lydian sounds like major, but with a raised fourth degree. Like major, but with a raised fourth. The fifth mode starts with an M. It's called Mixolydian. Let's see what this one sounds like. So now we're on, this is the first one, second, third, fourth, fifth. The fifth mode, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's G to G. You can hear that starts out like major, but the seventh note is lowered. So it's also like major, but with a lowered seventh. Okay, the sixth mode. Now we're going from A to A on the white keys. That's actually well, I should tell you what it's called first. It's called Aeolian. And this is what we know as the natural minor scale. So from these ancient Greek scales, Ionian came to be known as major, and Aeolian came to be known as the natural minor. Now the seventh mode, this one is used the least, but it's also very cool sounds from B to B. The reason this one wasn't used much is because it's not really, there's not a perfect fifth here, it's a diminished fifth, so we end up with a diminished triad here. So it's kind of like minor, and it's called Locrian, I should say, Locrian. Kind of minor-ish, but it has a tritone instead of a perfect fifth, and it also has a lowered second there. Okay, so a lot of little more differences for Locrian. So now, if you want to figure out how to determine a mode if there are sharps and flats in it, now if you memorize the order of the modes, you know what starts on the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, or seventh note of the scale. Now, say you come across a scale that has F sharps in it. So say I have F sharp, the key signature, that's G major. So if I go through my G major scale and I think G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp. Now I can see that if I have a scale with an F sharp in it, and it starts on C, C to C, that's the Lydian scale. If I have a scale with an F sharp in it that goes from E to E, that's the Aeolian. Or what about if it goes from D to D? That's the Mixolydian. So you can use this method going with any key signature and then figuring out which note of the scale it's starting on, and that will help you figure out what mode your music is in.